What's going on, F1 fans? My name is Alex, and this is Eileen, and this is It's Lights Out F1 podcast. And we are filming episode 2 right now, and I know it's coming out with the Barcelona, Spain race, and it's race 4, and we've been traveling and dealing with COVID restrictions, and we've not been able to sit down long enough to film this podcast after each race. We've been able to watch every race, but we have not been able to sit down and film every race, even though that's what we said we wanted to start to do, and that was a goal. But we're still on track for what we want to do here. And I just want to say, this Spain-Barcelona race, was it everything you lived up to? Was it good? Was it bad? What'd you think right off the top?
I thought it was good. Last race was pretty boring. So
yeah,
I think that this one was exciting from the beginning, and definitely exciting, like, strategy-wise and tire management, just having to be a little bit more careful. But definitely strategy played very critical into this race, and obviously the race win. So it was exciting.
Yeah, so Lewis took his 100th pole.
Yes.
Which was pretty damn impressive. I mean, it
barely took it, but he took it.
Barely took it, but he got his 100th. Where Max was starting in his 100th race, Lewis is taking his 100th pole, which is an impressive thing to have in a career, and congratulations to him. Yeah. So I just want to go through the starting positions real quick, because there was a bunch of things that kind of happened right off the start. So Lewis was first, Max second, Valtteri third, Charles fourth, Esteban fifth, Carlos 6th, Daniel Ricciardo 7th, Sergio Perez 8th, Lando 9th, and Fernando starting 10th. And that's just the top 10. I don't need to go on any farther than that. So right off the start, Max had a really good start.
Yeah, that seems to be a recurring thing, I feel like, every weekend.
Yeah, so he gets off the line really quick, and then he...
not so much for Mercedes.
Yeah.
He seemed to struggle on the starts.
In the words of our announcers on our great F1 channel, he had his elbows out with
razor blades, I think.
Razor blades in his elbows, and he was out, and he took that first turn pretty damn well, and held that line and took first.
Yeah. I think he kind of forced Lewis out a little bit.
That's the name of the game when you got that line, when you have the racing line. So Max kind of went out and stayed a little over a second and like 1.2 whatever out in front for a while.
Yeah, no, we had the safety car. I feel like I don't know, was it 5-6 laps in? It was pretty quick, and then they got a little bit closer. So it was, I don't know. I mean, it was at some points 2 seconds, and then it was after the safety car. They were pretty much like a second apart, and yeah.
Yeah, and then Lewis kind of dove in for a tire change? Or?
No, Max ended up hitting first, so he changed his tires, and then Lewis was in the lead, and I think it was like at that point, once he came out, it wasn't until 5 laps later that Lewis ended up going in, so Max ended up coming out in front by 5.5 seconds, so it was a pretty decent lead. He was obviously catching up quickly after he put new tires on, so yeah, it was 5.5 seconds, and then.
So, do you think he was pushing too hard in that first stint right there for that to get that 5.5 second lead to on that tires too? Because then now he was in the lead, and then Lewis came back pretty steadily at lap after lap.
It's hard to say because I think Lewis has the experience of tire management. I mean, we saw it last year. Come on, he drove with 3 tires at one point, and Turkey. So he knows how to manage his tires. I think just from an experience piece a lot better. But they all started on the softs, which I feel like was unusual to see. Most of the time we're used to them being on the medium, so they don't have to pit until 30-plus laps.
Or Sergio Perez, who just doesn't pit.
Yeah, no, he just drives all the way to the next race. But so I think that was unusual. But, yeah, I mean, honestly, I didn't think that Mercedes was going to pit twice. I thought for sure, it's Lewis. He'll just end up staying out. And he even said it post-race that he was like, I thought about staying out against what the team wanted him to do, to go in and pit again. But it worked out. I think it was the shock factor of the race. I mean, even for me, I was like, oh, my God, Lewis is in the pits again.
Yeah.
And, same thing with Red Bull. It was like they didn't react quick enough to
they
put Max in.
They should have reacted right away. They saw that move.
Yeah.
And the very next time around, he should have went in.
Yeah, and Max was already struggling with his tires prior to when Lewis was like on the charge. I mean, it was pretty quick from 5.5 seconds after their first pit stop, both of them, that he was like right on his tail. And he was like, I just can't hold them off. They have better grip than me. So he was already struggling. So to not have him pit and get a new set of tires after Lewis came out fresh and, ready to go, that really ended the race for him. And they didn't realize, and they didn't even make a change until, I don't know, only a couple laps left. They sent him in to get fastest lap, and, he had a big enough gap to hold the second spot. But, yeah.
Yeah, so, and then that kind of puts us to third and fourth place, where Leclerc was kind of holding down third for a while, kind of holding Valtteri back. And but Valtteri ended up getting it, and he ended up taking third.
Yeah.
And Leclerc finishing fourth, which is a good finish for him.
Yeah.
But, so we saw Perez go from a starting grid of 8th, and he finished in 5th. And so he made some good moves, made some good passes throughout the race.
Yeah.
And he was definitely a team player.
He was. And he had a shoulder injury. So, he was already struggling, obviously, yesterday, just being in pain and having to spin. And
yeah,
he had a shoulder injury. I mean, or so they say, but I think he did very well. I mean, we've been rooting for Sergio since last season, so
yeah, he's
good to see him.
He's one of my favorite racers. I will always like him. I think he's a good hard racer. Obviously, Max is great. Lewis is great. Leclerc is great. I know. I think they're all really, really good in their own right. So they're driving F1 cars at the edge of whatever they can do. So
yeah. We've been rooting for Norris, I feel like, a lot lately because, he's just, protect him at all costs. He's just such an angel, I feel like. So sweet. And he's been racing so well. So today definitely was a tough day for him. But it was good to see Ricciardo, finish strong. And, Norris didn't do too bad. He still got some points. But, in the Constructors' Championship, Ferrari is hot on McLaren's tail for that number 3 spot. So.
Yeah, they're going to come back hard for it. They're going to fight for it. They have a car and 2 drivers that can definitely race. Yeah,
it's interesting to see. Like I said the other day, I'm like, last season was really tough for Ferrari. So it's nice to see, considering the fan base. Obviously, in the past have been dominant. So it's really good to see them producing very consistent. I feel like Leclerc's been I think he's been number 4 every single race this season so far.
I don't think you're wrong. I'd have to look at the
sheets,
but that's probably correct.
Yeah, no, he's been doing really good. So it's interesting to see. So we'll see what happens. The other piece is that they're saying, this is Lewis's best start for any season, 94 points to start off with the first 4 races. So what does that mean?
It means that Max is going to have a tougher time trying to take over.
Still very close. Obviously in the past it's always been Mercedes 1-2, so it's interesting now that it's Mercedes 1-3. But, it's exciting. I don't know. The last few races have been, obviously last race in Portugal, it was far off, but that's because everybody was pitting at the end to get the fastest lap.
Well, yeah, that's Lewis had such a dominant lead, and so the next strategy is to try to go get fastest lap, and
I called it.
Sergio Perez, this is last week's race. Sergio Perez had fastest lap for a moment. He's sitting in 4th, and it just wasn't quite a fast enough lap.
Well, then Bottas pitted, and then Max pitted, and then Lewis was like, "Should we pit?"
Yeah, but
just as a joke.
Yeah, last lap, he's like, "Should we pit?" Yeah, that was pretty funny. But
can we talk about Lewis thinking that he wasn't racing Sergio and requesting the blue flags last race, because that was probably my highlight of the race.
Yeah, last week Sergio Perez had a lead. He was conserving his tires. He was actually driving on a set of mediums almost to the very end, pretty much to this race.
Yeah.
For this week, and Lewis was coming up pretty quickly on him, didn't really realize that he was in the lead, and said, why don't I see...
Blue flags, where's the blue flags?
Where's the blue flags? But there is no blue flags because his race engineer goes, no, you're actually racing him, Lewis.
He's yet to pit.
So it was pretty funny.
Yeah. I think they forgot about him. They left him out there for, 53 laps? It was almost like Christian Horner was like, who's number 2? oh, I think we forgot somebody.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
Oh man, so I don't know, but this race was pretty good. We had some good standings come out. Carlos did really well. Daniel did really well. Norris did okay. I mean, still finished in points, but not as high as he normally has been finishing. I think that's why he dropped a little bit now. Now he's in fourth place for the driver standings.
I think it's like 5-point difference,
which is still really good for such a young racer, you know.
Well, yeah, absolutely, especially the competition.
I noticed George Russell kind of making some moves midway near the end of the race. He was kind of 11th, 12th, kind of trying to make a pass on who was it? Was it Alonso?
It was Alonso, yeah.
It was Alonso in 10th, and he was trying to make some pass, and then something happened actually to both of them.
There was a whole lot of traffic going on. It was when Stroll went off the track and then had to give his place back because he overtook Alonso, I think, at that point. Okay. But there was, I want to say it was like half a second difference between Alonso and Russell, and we were so excited he was going to get his first points, but, you know, it's a bummer to see. He ended up falling back, but everybody was like right on top of each other. And I can't remember who it was that pitted at that point. I want to say it was like Bottas, and they came out into all of that. And so it was just like, it was Bottas, and it was just everybody was on top of everyone, super close. I mean, that's kind of where all like the changes were happening towards the end of the race. But yeah, he's going to get it next race. I mean,
yeah,
hope
he's
to
getting
God,
close. I mean,
Mr. Saturday.
Mr. Saturday. You know, it's funny is we saw a thing online that Mr. Friday's Valtteri, Mr. Saturday's George Russell, and Mr. Sunday is, of course, Lewis Hamilton.
Very true.
So George Russell finished 14th, almost had points, kind of probably spent all of his tires pretty hard. Mazepin, again, not so.
Mazepin, again, causing drama. It seems to be, I mean, like Leclerc said on Saturday, will he change?
I don't know. I mean, we see race after race, there's either some sort of issue. Last week, we keep bringing up last week because there was some things that happened. You know, Sergio Perez was again leading the race and passing blue markers, lapping people, lapping Mazepin, and Mazepin did not yield.
No, he tried to come into him. He turned into him.
Turned into him, trying to ride a racing line when he shouldn't be, when he should be, you know, riding wide to get past.
Yeah.
And again, this week,
he held up Lewis on the charge. I think it cost him a second and a half.
So Toto got on the radio and started yelling to the F1 race director. And I don't know what happened.
I don't think they never said anything about it. I mean, I'm sure there was more to, you know, to hear behind the scenes, but it was to the likes of, this guy never, he's going to hold us up, or when will this guy change? You know, like he's always in the way type of thing. You know, so it's interesting, but I think it's a little frustrating for the drivers too. He seems to be at the center of a lot of issues. So will he learn?
I don't know. We'll see.
Yes. So only time will tell.
We have a week break.
Yes.
And then in another week, we have finally the Monaco race is back. Last year, because of COVID, Monaco didn't happen, so you didn't get to see a Monaco race. So this is her first live Monaco race.
Yes.
And again, that's in 2 weeks' time. That is May 23rd, and it's if you're in the United States in Eastern Standard Time, it is 9 a.m.
Oh, perfect. I love the 9 a.m. start times.
I do. We do like the morning races because then it gives us the rest of the Sunday to enjoy doing the rest of the things we do, like film this and spend time together.
Yes.
So again, next in 2 weeks is Monaco, and I'm excited for that. It's one of my favorite races, even though it's somewhat boring. Things don't really get to happen unless it's a wet race. And we're hoping for a wet race for this.
Yeah.
So then, who was your driver of the day for this week in Spain?
Oh, well, it was Lewis. I voted for him several times.
That's right.
How could you forget?
I forgot. She's on the F1 app voting 3 times throughout the race. And I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, yeah, I'm voting.
You know, I mean, I think you got to give it to him for how well he raced, but also just the strategy from his team. So,
yeah. I
mean, all in all, it felt like just the whole package was put together really nicely. So, you know, to take that away from him just based on his tenure and how well he does, I I think he's proving to everybody it's not just the car, so we can stop saying that and put that to bed maybe. But it was a very well-rounded race, and I know that, obviously he tends to be in the top spot, so we want to see some excitement, but he definitely deserved driver of the day today. So
yeah, so I'm maybe actually going to give it to him too, because his performance was really, really good. I mean, yeah, a driver of the day for sure. All right, so anything else from today's race that you wanted to talk about?
No, I don't think so. Okay,
so then that wraps up episode 2 of It's Lights Out F1. And again, we are starting to stay on track.
Yes.
And do a podcast after every race. So in 2 weeks' time, you'll see us at Monaco, or not at Monaco. I wish we were in Monaco.
Yeah, I wish. Wouldn't that be nice? Then we'd have to quarantine for a long time again. So we definitely don't want to be doing that. Bless you.
Thank you.
Well, happy Mother's Day to everybody, too. Today's Mother's Day. So,
yep, happy Mother's Day to my mom and your mom.
Yeah.
And to your guys' moms out there.
Yes, exactly. So,
all right.
We'll see you guys in a few weeks.
All right. Bye.